Welcome, Empowered Empath. I am so glad that you're here, taking the time to listen to this podcast episode, to nurture yourself with another perspective. Think of this as a thought download, a nutrient that you can take or compost. Um, Anything that resonates, I invite you to make your own and digest and sit with and play with and make it your own. And anything that doesn't resonate, I invite you just to let fall away and just know that it is not meant for you, and that is a-okay. Doesn't mean anything good or bad about you, doesn't mean anything good or bad about me. It just meant it's not for you. Boom, end of story. So today I want to talk about when you feel, quote, stupid. I think this is like such an important one to talk about because in your process of self growth and evolution, you're gonna come up against spots in your mind and your energetic system where you are transitioning paradigms within your whole system. And I want to normalize that it can feel like your brain has turned off for a day or a week. I just had this happen to me. This podcast episode is inspired by me going and volunteering in my kids' classrooms. They're in elementary school, 4th grade and 2nd grade. And when I go into a spot like that, right? Like an elementary school, and I'm talking with new people, new adults, new children. And all of a sudden it feels like I'm not comprehending things in the same way, or I'm not receiving information in the same way. My brain, the way it's been programmed and patterned from the past, then spits out this put down like an anxious, like, oh no, if you don't understand, they're going to think you're stupid. Or oh no, you have to understand this because you have to teach somebody. Or oh no, you're not you're not understanding this the way that you used to understand it. So that must mean, and then fill in the blank with some other put down. So something I've normalized for myself over and over and over again that really serves me well, that I really want to offer to you as an energetically changing being. You will meet up against times when it feels like your brain slate has been wiped clean and it feels like you don't have access to the same level of knowledge you once had. And I want to offer that's completely normal. So if that is a normal experience that a human can have, the next question is, how do you want to deal with this? Right? We still have to live our lives. We still have to go into the classroom and teach students and talk to adults and, coach our clients and try to do a math problem. Like, we still have to do all these things no matter what sector of life that you reside in. You still have to go forward with your day, right? And if you're someone who doesn't have to go forward with their day and you can kind of take the day off for your brain freeze, that's awesome. I completely celebrate that. I do that as much as I possibly can. I have this book, PS side note, I have this book called Rest is Resistance, and I just started digging into it. You guys, talk about hangover from grind culture. This book is going to be like a saving grace for so many of us who are really repatterning how we choose to do life in the future in terms of not overworking. Anyway, getting back. So this is what I do when, for example, number one, when I notice that I'm not understanding things as quickly as I did last week, that someone is talking to me, I immediately now have normalized, instead of putting myself down, I have this thought in my back pocket of, oh my gosh, my system is just updating. Something else. Oh my God, I'm in transition to a new operating system, a new way of connecting with people, a new way of understanding the life that I live, a new way of understanding how reality works. So, do you see how I I use the opportunity of this like blank space in my mind where I used to have the program of put down of the inner critic of of making fun of myself, like, oh Jess, you're not good enough because you can't regurgitate material as quick as somebody else next to you, to wait a second, I'm onto something amazing here. And the thing that I'm onto was absolutely specifically meant just for me. So if the new mental and energetic paradigm that I am shifting into is meant just for me, that means no one else can test drive this new space except for me. So what it feels like is when I'm going through a very significant paradigm shift, like whatever is happening internally right now, it feels like every moment in my life that I meet that feels like I'm quote stupid. I'm saying this for lack of better words. I'm not trying to use this as a put down. I'm just trying to like if that is a thought that you've run into, like I've run into, like, oh no, I'm like stupid. It's like, oh wait, catch yourself. That's an old way of thinking about it. What is a new way of thinking about it? So I got off track. So what I wanted to say was, I think of when I'm going through a major paradigm shift like this in my life, and I meet these just like regular momentary experiences with this, it feels like it's almost like a blank slate. It feels like the next paradigm hasn't completely integrated yet, and it needs space to 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 not be fully complete yet. So that's like that space of transition, and that can be really, really challenging. So letting yourself be in the space of transition, in my opinion, is like the cream of the crop. Am I saying that right? It is such an important gift to give yourself, because you certainly could try to force yourself into the next paradigm, but guess what? You would be missing some pieces because you'd go too fast into the next paradigm, right? Or you could try to force yourself to stay in the old paradigm, the old way of thinking, the old energetic, systemic way of thinking in your own system and feeling, and that would stunt your growth. So it's this transitory period that we really want to normalize. And number one, I want to say it doesn't last forever. Every time I go through one of these transitory energetic periods where I feel like I have a brain fart, like, 10 times a day or more, or I just live in brain fart for a week straight, it never lasts. And it always, when I'm patient with it, it always introduces me to the next quote updated version of myself. And that updated version of myself that is coming on the other side of this like blank slate feeling where it feels like my brain has been wiped off the map, that update is something I've been working toward for probably months, maybe years. And so it's like, can I give myself a day or a week to let go of how I previously identified with my entire reality? Can I give myself a week to let that deprogram and just energetically leave my system while I meet each new moment in my life, practice meeting each moment in my life with this new paradigm? That's what it feels like. It feels like it feels like both a big space between old paradigm me and new paradigm me, while it simultaneously feels like this very gentle introduction to my new self. So it's like meeting the part of me that does the dishes, meeting the part of me that does my movement practice, meeting the part of me that talks to the grocery store clerk, meeting the part of me that has more patience with my kids or less patience with my kids. So every one of these moments is a chance to update them with the new paradigm. So as long as I go slow and I really feel what it's like to kind of let myself just be confused, then I'm okay. I'm more than okay. I'm excited. So I'll even give you an example of like doing this like in real life, like with like people and eyes on you and expectations. And I mean, I wasn't in a court of law this morning, but I want to do a good job for my kid's fourth grade teacher. And, you know, fourth grade is quite a jump up from third grade. And so they're doing all this stuff now that is, it's starting to get beyond like, it's starting to go into the place of like, I don't remember this stuff. Like I know I studied it and did it, but I can't remember. So it's a lot, it's almost like I'm relearning all these things. And, like the teacher today was describing to me the assignment, and the thing is when I look back on it, it wasn't a complex assignment, but I swear to God, whew, and it happened with the other teacher too. When his fourth grade teacher was telling me the assignment and what my job was to do with them, when I like in my volunteer time, you know, I go on Thursdays, I have an hour in one class and another bit in another class. I realized that it was like in Charlie Brown when the parent is talking and it is like wah 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 wah. I was like, oh my God. And then she's like talking to me and I'm looking at her and I can feel that I'm not picking up on the information. So in the moment, I could feel my heart rate rise, like, oh my God, I really want to do a good job. And then I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't have to be a problem. So what I did was I just said, okay, can you repeat that last part one more time? And then another time I did this like 2 weeks ago, she was repeating, it was math, which is like my arch nemesis. And she was describing to me like what they were doing for math. And I was like, she's describing it. It literally went in one ear and out the other. And so I just was like, oh shit. So I just paused and I looked at her and I was like, for math, I'm going to just need that to be repeated a couple times. So I just like stood up for myself and what I needed in order to show up like authentically for her. You know what I mean? So I'm not just nodding my head pretending like I actually got the information without actually getting the information. I just let her know like, hey, I just need that repeated a couple more times. Or like today, I actually repeated back to her like, okay, so do you mean XYZ? Do you mean this, 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 and this? And she's like, yeah. So what I really like about just slowing down and taking a moment like this, a really simple moment that we could so easily brush over this and not even give it a second thought, is these moments. When I come across these moments in my life, it really shows me the an old program of I want to be seen as intelligent. I want to be seen as competent. And here's another thought. If I ask her to repeat what she said, she's going to think I'm stupid. So I'm going to pause right there for a second because it's something that we could so easily brush under the rug and just go forward with our lives. But every time I've uncovered this thought and I've really sat with it and restructured, reintroduced that old thought to what my new belief has been for the past few decades, that old thought just slips away. It deprograms itself. So for example, I truly believe that every single human is brilliant, is absolutely brilliant. I also truly believe that brilliance is not only expressed in the way that our public schools prioritize. My kids go to public school. My opinion is that public schools, this is not to down public schools or public school teachers. I'm grateful my kid is in school. But honestly, I think public schools are severely, significantly behind on the multitude of ways that a human being can learn and comprehend information and then also teach and share and regurgitate information. And luckily, there's so many people being born on the planet today that literally do not have the capacity to learn the way that our school systems have prioritized learning in like the neurotypical way, so that our system is being forced to recognize alternative ways, different new ways of teaching and learning. So like if I'm going to look at one student who isn't understanding the concept the way that like the teacher is describing it, like to me, an amazing teacher, and I feel so blessed, like both of my kids' teachers do this. An amazing teacher is someone who doesn't just try to force the kid to learn in that one way. An amazing teacher is someone who pauses, can tell that that student needs to look at the material from a different angle, and then tries on new perspectives to help that student understand it in a new way. And possibly the hope is to discover, what is your way of digesting this information, learning this information? What is your way of going through life? Because the purpose of going through life isn't to go through life and just like download and regurgitate information the way that the like one way that it is shown to us on movies and in public schools. The way the purpose, I'm not gonna say the one big purpose, but like I think a fulfilled and successful human is a person who finds what their specific and unique way is that they learn continuously throughout their life. Because if you can find out your specific way of how you learn, then you will never stop updating yourself. But if you're trying to conform into like one or two ways of learning and you find yourself failing at it over and over and over again, you're going to download the program that you just can't learn. You suck at learning. You're stupid. But I believe that's a lie. I believe that if you're not learning one way, there is another way that you can receive information and learn something. So taking that concept back to that moment where I'm growing right now from old paradigm to new paradigm. Number one, we want to normalize this process so that we can continue to update ourselves throughout our life up until the day we physically leave this earth. I am never going to stop learning and updating myself. It is the most fun experience as a human that I have the opportunity to have. Okay, we'll just leave that. So if I can normalize that weird, uncomfortable process, if I can get really comfortable being uncomfortable in this process of updating myself, the fucking sky's the limit, you guys. There's nothing that can stop me from continuing to evolve. No paradigm is too big for me to move through, as long as I can get comfortable at being uncomfortable in that transitory process. So let me give you another example just to ground this even more in like a day-to-day reality, which is if you're someone who has either been around young children or you are a parent of young children or have had young children, you might be very well familiar with toddlers have a very challenging time going from one task to another task very quickly. I didn't know this until I had a toddler and then had another toddler. And luckily I found a really good parenting book. Hold on, let me take a sip of water. That that talks about the toddler will have a much easier time of transitioning from playtime to nap time if you start letting them know when the transition is happening. Hey, you have 5 more minutes. And then when you're in the transition time, showing up, being with them in that transition time, right? Instead of moving through it really fast. And then, of course, you're with them on the other end. So there's all kinds of like toddler tools to do this. And right now I'm blanking on what they are. But what I'm offering to you is you get to be the parent to yourself in this moment of transition. Think of yourself as a sparkling new toddler who is exiting one paradigm of growth and entering a new paradigm of growth. You are also the parent to that toddler version of you. So you showing up in that moment when you feel, quote, stupid, and you just saying, hey Jess, we're going from playing with that way of thinking about the world to now we're playing with thinking about the world in this new way. And this is going to feel a little bit confusing for a little bit. Okay. How can you breathe and embody your body? Like really, like I know that's a buzzword right now, but how can you breathe and show up for yourself in this moment right now? How can you let your consciousness be with your eyeballs in this moment? How can you let your consciousness be like taste your thoughts? How can you speak to someone in your reality from a new way of being? Right? So, the parent version of you can really help you through this process, help you to show up for yourself, right? Just like you show up for your toddler when they're having a hard time transitioning, you can show up for yourself when you are transitioning. So what I want to leave you with today is I think why I really wanted to record this one is it took me a long time to realize that this was such a normal way of updating our mental and energetic system. And when I realized that I wasn't the only one who was going through these brain fart moments, I felt so much better. And not only that, I normalized it for myself. And then I started going through these brain fart moments a lot more. You know why? Because I started moving through them. It's like you get into a book that you really like and you just finish that one. And then you finish number 2 and then you finish number 3. So normalize your brain fart moments. Be kind with yourself when you're going through them. Let other people know if you need something repeated or if you don't have the capacity for something, just be like, you know what? I don't have the capacity for that right now. Like, I love you, but I don't have the capacity for that right now. Like, let other people know. It's fine. So that's it. You're not stupid. You're actually onto something even brighter. Like it's the opposite of stupid, actually. It is the fucking opposite. Please know that and honor that in yourself because you are really the only one who can honor that for yourself. And seriously, when you do this, you honor this for yourself, just watch it. Okay, guys, when you do this for yourself, it genuinely feels like once you get to the other side, it's like you've downloaded a new superpower. And the only way to get to that superpower part, to download that new energetic superpower, is to go through that uncomfortable, transitory time. Because that's how you discover where it is and how to use it. It's like gaining access to a third human arm. And that third human arm is like limp and it just shows up out of nowhere. And you're like, what the fuck is this thing? Is this an elephant trunk? Is this like a big penis that's like 6 feet long? Like, what's happening? It's like, how do I use this thing? It's like if you just get comfortable using it, all of a sudden you have a third arm. Like, that's amazing. So, all right, beautiful traveler, empath, empathetic person, energetically sensitive human who is a fucking badass. Um, use your sensitivity as your superpower. So, I hope you got some good nuggets to play with and make your own this week. Um, so I'm still offering. This might change soon. So if you want to do this, hop on. I might make this offer different soon. But I am still offering as of, what are we in, November of 2023. If you rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends, your other energetically sensitive friends who are interested in learning and expanding and up-leveling their lives. If you rate and review this podcast, you get to sign up for a free 30-minute perspective shift coaching session. So that information is in my link that I'll put below at my website, jessbushnell.com. And then other ways to work with me are a single timeline jump session, where you get to anchor in a new point of consciousness and then create your life from that new point. And then I also offer a 6-week one-to-one life coaching journey. We do timeline jumps in there. We do regular intuitive coaching sessions in there. We do voice messaging back and forth for 6 weeks. It's a really fun time. So you can apply to work with me in the link at my website that I'll link, jessbushnell.com. And I think that's all for now. Remember that you're fucking brilliant and treat yourself as such. Okay. Mwah, mwah, mwah. So much love.